Hello and welcome to Community Case Studies. This is a look at how belonging is really built. I'm your host. My name is Seth Resler, and I'm the founder of Community Marketing Revolution. And I put this show together because I had a lot of students and a lot of clients asking me, what are other people doing with community? How are they applying the principles that we talk about at Community Marketing Revolution? And so I wanted to show that. And this is the very first episode that we are doing. My very first guest is a singer, a producer, an educator, and a multi-instrumentalist. She is also a Milwaukee native who is trained in jazz and classical flute, along with voice and piano. She has shared the stage with artists like Moonchild and Janelle Monáe over her 2-decade artistic career. She's also the program director of Radio Milwaukee's youth program called Grace Weber's Music Lab. I want to welcome to the show Be Free. Hi, B. How are you?
Hi. Oh my
Welcome.
gosh,
Thank
sounds
you
so
much.
important. I love it.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I put this together because I want to take a look at what communities really look like, kind of in the wild, so to speak, what people are doing, because there are certain principles that are common to different communities, but they're applying them in different ways. And I really like the community that you are running. Can you talk to me a little bit about the Grace Weber program? I mean, who are you bringing together and why? What are they doing?
Absolutely. So first, thank you again for having me and allowing me to talk about this. This is literally part of my job, is to spread awareness about this incredible program that we have in Milwaukee. Grace Weber's Music Lab is a monthly masterclass and open mic space that is specifically geared towards local teens in the city. Back in 2017, Grace Weber, who is a Grammy award-winning artist, musician, and Milwaukee native herself, came to Radio Milwaukee and to collaborate to create this space where kids could learn about different things in the music industry. She herself was traversing through it and going from being a singer in the city and doing things as a kid and a teenager to now having a fully fledged career. She was hoping to bridge that gap. So she wanted to create something just to give kids all the information they could get that they weren't necessarily getting solely in school, especially if they didn't have any arts programming. So where could she create a space where kids can learn directly from people in the industry who are singers, who are music producers, who are music managers, who are engineers, any of the different careers that are available within the arts and within music specifically. She wanted to help them learn about that, but also give them an opportunity to have a free space to be themselves, to demonstrate or try to flesh out any of their own creative gifts and music in that realm, and to also just come together with people that they may not get to see on a regular basis. So that was the whole premise. And I think so far so good. We have just actually wrapped our 8th season in duration and get ready for the next school year. And looks like it's going to be another plentiful one. So we're really grateful for all the support and opportunities to be able to spread the word about this free program that we have at Radio Milwaukee.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Congratulations on 8 years. That's very impressive. I always like to talk about these communities in terms of shared mission. And I think you did a really good job of kind of defining this. This is young people who are getting together. Is everybody who participates in the program, are they all looking for a career in music, or is it, some people just hobbies?
Not necessarily. And I think that's also something that we try to specify when talking to kids who are new to or just learning about what the program is. We are not necessarily forcing anyone to do anything. We want to create a space just for you to explore, essentially. If you are somebody that already is active in music, we have young people who are already recording artists or already musicians, but just want to learn how to get better tools for enhancing that, this is a space for you. But on the other end of that, if you're somebody that has no idea about any of this, don't even know if you care about music as a career or anything, but are just genuinely interested in seeing what it's about, just getting something to learn, or just coming to hang and be in a space that's welcoming to you as a kid in the city, then that's definitely for you too. We like to make it open-ended so that anybody just that wants to be a part of it and experience what a music lab consists of, that is for you, and we make it welcoming in that regard.
Yeah. When I talk to community builders, one of the things that we try to distinguish between is the shared mission of all of the community members, which you just outlined, and the business, or in this case, organization purpose. Why is the organization, and who is the organization behind it? Is it Radio Milwaukee? Is it Grace Weber? And why did they start it? And What does that mean? What
Yeah.
what was the
So the
impetus for it?
Grace Weber's Music Lab is currently presented through Hyphen, which is the urban alternative radio station underneath Radio Milwaukee. But the overarching thing is Radio Milwaukee as a whole. And I think that that makes complete sense why Grace came to the station first, because one of the station's primary goals in our mission is to be a catalyst for creating a better and more inclusive and engaged Milwaukee. And what better way to do that than by tapping in with the youth to create a space for them to not only be inclusive and be among other folks, but also a way for them to engage, whether that's them coming to something physically, whether that's them learning, whether that's performing, anything they can do to be colloquial. I think that it all definitely makes sense in the spectrum of those things.
Yeah. I like that because it's a really clear illustration of the difference between an organization purpose and the shared mission of the members. And they're often related, but they're not necessarily the same. When we set out to build a community, we are creating a space, and you alluded to it there. What does the space for this Grace Weber Music Lab look like? I mean, and I don't just mean physically. I mean, do they get together in person? Do they get together virtually? What happens?
So it's actually an entity of things. Like it started off as just a physical space because Radio Milwaukee, the building, is actually a functioning business. We have a wonderful space, a community space where we have events, we have concerts, we have live recordings right there in the performance space. And that is where we have it once a month throughout the school year. And we welcome everybody to come to there. Sometimes kids have never even heard of the station. They've never been to a radio station before, never been to a performance like area like that. So all those things are super welcomed. And we want them to be a part of that. But also, ever since we experienced what I like to call the cocoa, we also had to start exploring other realms of outreach and being able to tap in with our community. And that's when we started utilizing our virtual things. So there was a good point in time during the lab where we were only offering virtual sessions because we physically could not meet in person. So by us also making that a welcoming space, that actually helped our outreach as well, because anybody that didn't know about last month's session or didn't know about anything, they could go back and look and see for themselves at their own time, like, and watch a stream about what's happening at the station or what happened during the music lab session and see what it's about. And I think that keeping that little hybrid aspect about it right now has definitely helped people be able to be a part of it one way or another. So whether you're physically there, we want to encourage that, of course, because it's the best way to receive it fully, but also whether you're just seeing virtually from your own home or what's going on, what's happening at the lab, we welcome anybody to be able to tap in and see how they can be a part of it.
Yeah. I love that because it's a great illustration of how a space can be woven with both virtual and in-person elements. Look, my first introduction to event production, to bringing people together in person, was concerts. And you obviously perform a lot, so you're very familiar with concerts. I have found, as I have entered the community building space, that we need to draw a distinction between events that are content, where all the chairs are pointed in one direction and people are just consuming what is happening on a stage or on a screen, which are great. You know, audience building events are wonderful, but they don't necessarily build community. They don't create relationships between the people who are coming to those events. You know, the example I always give is you go to a movie theater and they actually tell you, don't you dare turn around and talk to the guy next to you. You're not supposed to do that. You know, but when you're actually building community, you need to build engagement. You need to, you know, get people to interact with each other. What does engagement look like in your space?
Yeah, I think that engagement starts from the minute that the students get in the building. Something that we have built in over the course of the last few years is something called a teen social hour, because at first we were just having the programming and kids were coming at all different times because they're coming from different high schools. They get out at different times. Some get out at 3, some get out at 4. So we actually created something where they can be welcomed to be colloquial and meet other people. So the teen social hour happens right the hour before the lab starts at 5. And kids are all coming. They're eating pizza. We're providing for them. We have a DJ, one of our own hyphen DJs or somebody from the community is providing the vibe and music for them. And they're all sitting in the area outside of the performance space, the lobby. And this is super cool because this is also a space that is kind of created for you to be amongst other people. We have couches, we have lounge chairs, we have tables. So no matter where you are in that space, you're going to be in somebody's face that you may not even know, or maybe you do know but just wanted to kind of like have more time to hang with them. It's created for it to feel like a party. We want it to feel like a very chill, calming, just you to kind of get situated before you even come into the lab. So once that happens, we're also continuously encouraging regular engagement and activity and talking and just people that are around you. We want people to sit as close as you can to the top, or just make sure you're by somebody that you may not have known or getting to know. And then once the actual lab starts and people start to get more comfortable, we also created a space for post lab where we have a little bit of a mini social hour where it's like, oh, okay, all these people you just saw them perform on stage, or you just heard somebody ask some really good questions. Talk to them, exchange numbers or exchange social handles, because everybody has a social these days. Get to know these kids outside of music lab and see where you guys might be able to have some room for collaborative creativity, which we are always seeing examples of every season of the program, which is amazing. And we really just try to build that into a part of being in music lab. So no matter what you came there for, there's always going to be an opportunity for you to have some kind of collaborative opportunity or outreach or relationship with somebody else that you may not have known before.
I love that word collaboration. I mean, that's such a great aim to have from it.
Absolutely. And we take it very literally. Even though like there's no prerequisite obviously for anything with being a part of it, but we try to encourage them to see where you might meet the creative yin to your yang. And we've had situations where students have formed bands outside of music lab. We've had people who've actually got together and produced and released albums and EPs together, or singles or music videos. They're performing concerts. Even this past season that we just wrapped, we had a few students that literally met by coming to lab and performing at the open mic, and by the end of it they had their own big rock band. So it's always like stuff like that that we're encouraging and showing, like, yeah, you never know what's out there for you, or the people that are just right in your city right next door. So having something like this to be free and just to utilize it in the way that's best possible for you, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah. I love that because it's such a great illustration of a principle that I learned called engineering serendipity. That serendipity is when people come together and something bigger comes out of it. They form a band, they form a company, they get married, whatever it might be. And how you can't force serendipity to happen, but you can create conditions under which it is more likely to happen, which is exactly what it sounds like you're doing, that you are engineering serendipity in the space that you've created. So
I think I'm gonna borrow that, Seth. Thank you very much. Next time I do a little presentation.
I stole it. I will full on admit I completely stole it. You can steal it as well. I have no problem.
Yeah.
I'll give David Spinks credit. I don't know that he came up with it, but that's the guy who I originally heard it from, and I love that phrase. Talk to me about what we often call in the community space onboarding. I don't know, maybe you call it orientation. This idea that when people have just joined the community, they are brand new members. How do you welcome them? How do you, create a sense of belonging and kind of show them how to participate in the community?
Yeah. So one of the things that's unique about the Music Lab is, as like other youth organizations, we're obviously doing regular outreach in schools and in community and telling people about what's getting ready to happen. But we don't actually have like a formal membership situation where it's like you signed up for this thing, so now we're expecting you to be at this the entire school year and that's it. I think that we have what I like to consider a bit of a rolling admission sort of vibe, because students are able to come and go as they please. However, once there is anybody there, whether it's the first lab in September or it's your first one popping in March, we try to welcome everybody with the exact same energy. We have as much information on the table and much goodies and giveaways to have for you to access when you're going there for the first time. I do make it a really prominent effort to go out into this public space and actually introduce myself to each student if I recognize somebody new, so they know who I am. Let them know what the vibe is going to be, set the tone, and let them welcome them for being here and just appreciating them for sharing their time and space with us, and letting them know this is we're here for you, and all the things you see here today, we want you to take full advantage of. And hopefully after that, you'll be welcomed and encouraged to come back and see how you can build upon that. I want them to know that there's no obligation, because I have a lot of students that also are afraid to come sometimes because they think that because by signing up, That means they have to get on stage, and that's absolutely not the case. So it's really just me, just squelching any inconsistencies or uncertainties, and making everybody feel the same level of calm and ease of being in the space and knowing that we are solely here just to bring you this information and to allow you to have a space where you can just be yourself. And I think that that aspect of our onboarding has helped us be able to retain regular people coming back after the first experience with the music lab.
It's so funny to hear you say, because in online communities, we often talk about the fact that there are people who are lurkers who just quietly sit in the background and don't actually say anything. And then there are active participants. And that sounds like exactly what you're saying, that there are people who are, willing to get up on stage, and there are other people who are like, I want to watch this and see.
And that's okay. Yeah. Especially because you think about like teenagers, right? Like we have a variety of personalities, like we're not all going to be the outgoing, yes, I'm gonna get up and do this new thing. Sometimes it takes us a while to fill things out. And I think that the fact that we have 8 in the season, we've had instances where people have actually just experienced this. Somebody came every single month and just to watch, and literally decided on the very last one of the season to get up and go for it and tried to do the open mic. And they did a wonderful job. So I love the fact that we were able, from our regular onboarding and just engagement with them as they came, that hopefully we built a safe enough space for them to feel that it was okay for them to do that. So that's definitely what it's all about.
Well, and that's so key that you say that it is about creating a safe space, and meaning that it's just a place where they feel comfortable opening up, they feel comfortable interacting and doing whatever they're there to do. So talk a little bit more about that, about what you do to create a safe space.
I think that is really important because Milwaukee, as amazing as a city as it is, I know that it's difficult to find places where teens can just exist. And that's why I love the work that youth organizations are doing. I love Running Rebels. I love True School. I love our community partners, Peak Initiative and folks like that, because any place that we can create for them to just be and do as they will and try to like get something out of that, I think is amazing. But I think that part of this program existing is also adding on to that same mission that our other organizations have in the city as well. Here is a space where it's designated for you. It's not you coming to school where there's adults or teachers, so you're supposed to be here, but it's also another ulterior thing going on that you have to focus on. This is a space solely created for you to just exist in whatever facet that looks like. If it's you being a person that wants to learn more about music or wants to try to get on stage, if it's you just coming to look for extending your own community, if you're looking for friends, if you're looking to be in a space where there are people there that you don't get to see on a regular basis, because also we try to emphasize the fact that the lab is for everybody. It's not just for students who go to one zip code or go to an art school. It's for anybody who can get there. And sometimes that looks like I'm sitting in colloquially and I'm having a fun time with somebody in a completely different zip code than I live in. And that's okay. We want to show them that that's fine. We want to teach them and make them understand that having a free space specifically for your age group and your like-minded individuals is exactly what the bottom premise of Music Lab is going to be first and foremost. So that's always going to be a part of what we're showing them and hopefully exemplifying with every session that we have. And I would like to believe that that's something that's understood by attendees as they come.
Yeah. You said something that I think is so key there, which is that creating a safe space, while you say it's inclusive and it's open to students from everywhere, there is some thoughtful exclusion going on. You're saying that parents and teachers, we got to keep them out of the room because we know the students won't open up if they, unless they're with their peers. That's
always kind of been the goal. And mind you, like it's not a situation where, and I have to remind people of that because I get a lot of communications from parents and teachers as well asking those same questions. Like, so am I not allowed to come inside? We're not turning anybody away per se. And I have a lot of students that come with their families, which is great. However, I do encourage and we do make it a thing to let them know this is a space curated for kids. And like you said, like a lot of times teenagers will not necessarily feel comfortable opening up fully about, exploring anything if they know in the back of their mind, oh, mom's back there, so I can't really do anything. We want them to have a space where they don't have to worry about anything like that. So as much as possible, we're letting them know that this is a space, and it's also we have adults around. Like obviously, we have myself and other staff and what have you. So it's not anything when you're necessarily just dumping them and then going. But yeah, we want them to understand that this is literally a for you by you kind of vibe. Like kids for the kids, and the kids are the one that creates the energy and what's happening here, and that's why we want to make it known like that.
So how do you measure the success of this community? I mean, are there
Yeah,
metrics that you're looking at?
there are a few things because I know that there are tangible items that come along with running a program. We obviously are always looking at attendance numbers. We're always looking at outreach and how many kids come from certain zip codes or certain schools. Information like that is always helpful, especially when it comes to our grant supporters and other folks that are looking to continue offering support for the program. But what I love the most about Music Lab is there is a very great amount of intangible success that we have every single year. And that comes from the things that are measured strictly by our feedback. So, first and foremost, we do have surveys. Every student gets one and they are filling it out throughout the session and they're answering specific questions about what are you learning today? What's something new that you learned? Or what did you come here expecting to hear? What's something that you would like to see in the future? But also, just by seeing physically how the music labs are happening when we're having those students that are meeting new people or maybe came just to see what it was about, but by the end of the school year, finally decided to get up and give it a try. People that are continuing to come back to each session and trying out new material and taking the feedback from our guests. Because that's the other thing, too. Like we have actual professional artists and musicians and folks that are giving these kids real gems that they can use and apply. And whether or not they're taking that and deciding to try it out next month. Like all of those things are the way that we have specifically been measuring the intangible growth. We've also had a way of tracking how they're able to utilize things that they do in Music Lab outside of their time with us. Because once they graduate and go on to college and do whatever we hope that you are encouraged to do something with what you've learned in this space. We've had instances, actually just recently, where one of our students went and tried back out for American Idol. And myself and Grace were one of the first people that they called to let them know that, it was because of my time that I spent at the Music Lab that I was able to redevelop the courage and instinct to really feel like I can do this. And those are the things that are really hard to track on paper. But at the same time, they're really, really important to note because that's the biggest success that I feel like the program is able to provide is really about the comfort and understanding that we're able to create for these students and how they're approaching their gifts.
Yeah. That's got to be an awesome feeling to watch one of your students go and audition for American Idol.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, you mentioned feedback. You were talking about feedback that the students get from professional musicians.
Yeah.
Do you have a way of getting feedback from the students and the people participating in the community? And have you changed anything in the 8 years that you've been doing this in response to that feedback?
Well, to be clear, also, I wasn't a part of the Music Lab from the very, very beginning. I came in season 3. But prior to that, we had other Radio Milwaukee and local musician professionals that were kind of getting things off the ground with getting it going. So just to clarify, but in the time that I've been a part of it, we've always had the surveys be a part of it in some way, in some capacity. We may have changed the questions. I do like to make sure that I keep a finger or a pulse on things, or what kind of things do we need to make sure that we're asking to build for a better program, or what sort of things will need to be important for our donors to know. For example, like how can I build a community or a connection between this is the intangible, this is the tangible, and then here's that circle of mediums where we want to make sure everything lives. That's always what we're looking to get with our feedback. We have also at the end of every session, we do hear from our actual guests as well. Like they're actually talking to us and answering questions on film about how they think things went, anything that stood out to them. And then also oftentimes we welcome them being able to go back out into the audience after lab and talk to the students that they just saw perform or that they just got the chance to meet, and they're giving them direct feedback as well. And as a part of the I guess I should probably talk about the teen open mic as well to kind of understand that as well. So every Music Lab session starts with the social hour, but then once we begin, we welcome in our artists and we have an on-stage demonstration of what it is that they do. So if that's a performance, if that's a music production, if that's rapping, if that's them just talking about anything. We've had also people just give presentations on music licensing and things like that. But then we also have an interview where they can talk at length about their careers and answer questions as it directs entirely to our teens. But then the teen open mic is a direct opportunity for feedback from that guest and myself, as well as the audience. We let every student know that by coming on this stage, first and foremost, you are a star. That's my number one rule. Everybody is a star. I say that every time. And after they perform what they do, they'll get to hear a positive and constructive feedback from the guests. Like, oh, that was a great song you performed. You can maybe try doing it a little louder, or maybe you can try this approach with your, on stage comfort and how you're moving. And oftentimes we'll be able to have opportunities for them to try that right then and there. So feedback is definitely something that's been woven into the program's genesis, I believe, because we want students to understand like what's being said to them, and the fact that the people who sang it to them have literally lived and done it themselves. So it's just an opportunity continuously for you to be able to grow.
Yeah. So in the 5 years that you've been involved, what's been the biggest challenge?
In the 5 years that I've been involved, I would say really just having continual outreach. I think because as much as I like to beat the drum about this program, it is kind of difficult to really make sure everybody is aware that it's happening. And that comes with its own challenges with when you have a large school base like Milwaukee. I'm trying to be in as many places as I can. And then now, of course, physically with me living in Los Angeles, I have to find new creative ways to encourage outreach in that regard. It's really just been about trying to make sure folks know about it, honestly. Every opportunity that we get to speak to a classroom or send outreach emails or directly go to events or tabling things where we can let people know that this is here and that it's free 99 at that, like it doesn't cost students a single thing to come and spend your time with us this one time out of the month. That's honestly been the most interesting thing that I've had to try to just maneuver my way around. But once we're able to get around that, when it happens in different pockets in different ways, I think that just the season itself just continues to develop and build and show us ways that we can try to make people know that it's there.
Yeah. When you're building something like this, it looks really impressive from the outside. But I know when you're on the inside, there's always things that it's never perfect. There's always something that goes wrong. I want other people to be able to learn from maybe mistakes you've made along the way. Is there anything that you would do differently looking back at the last 5 years?
I'm not sure if there's anything I would have done differently, because every year has honestly, and I tell people this all the time, like because of the fact that when I entered the program, it was the little turning point right before COVID. How the program looked before that can't even really apply to now, because we have so many other factors to think about. We have so many other aspects that we have to keep into consideration. So I don't know if I necessarily personally would do anything differently, but I do appreciate being able to take learned information about some things that may have created difficulties. I think my biggest thing has been about like our sign up process, trying to make everything as understood as possible from the beginning, because that does kind of create confusion the day of. Like prior to COVID and prior to everything, it kind of had like this come one, come all nature with as far as being a part of the open mic itself. But now it's more, I would say, curated, because we want to make sure that we have time. When it was open ended, we're not able to stay there till 10 p.m. every Friday, So being able to just communicate from the beginning that this is what this segment is. This is how much time you have to sign up for it, up until first come, first serve, that kind of vibe. Letting people know from the beginning at every turn of wherever they are on the Music Lab site, because that's where all of our information is. Every single thing you need to know about how the lab runs, how the lab is going, how long it lasts, what it consists of, and what to expect. All that is there. So me just being very deliberate and intentional about how it's going to be functioning, and then following through on that the day of as well, I think has really just been the turning point for me in this season. So if anything, I would have just done that sooner. But every year has come with its own, it's looked different. So the fact that we've been able to even get it to a comfortable enough space, I think, where we're able to finally just take things and apply them and learn from them, I think is really great.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, here's my final question. What is your biggest win? What are you most proud of when you think of this
I am
community?
absolutely proud of the kids. And I know that might sound cliche, because it's like, well, duh, but I think that being able to see the vast amount of different people that have come from this program, and we just recently wrapped some recap as well with the end of close of season 8, and we got to actually speak in depth with a few of our students who attended regularly throughout the year, and hearing some of their feedback about why they came, what made them come back, is literally what has really just driven this home for me. We've had students that admitted how scared they were, coming in first and not knowing what to expect, or being afraid to get on stage for the first time in their lives, often. And the fact that this coming to Music Lab made them feel comfortable enough where they could try something new for the first time, that they really enjoyed having direct connectivity with some really important guests that they may not get to see on a regular basis. Even just the space that I create for them, because I also, with me being a performer, with me being an artist, but also having my education background, is literally my job to set the vibe, and then the fact that anybody has recounted that and said that that has added to them being comfortable enough to be here lets me know already off the top that it's a job well done. So no matter if we had 10 or 50 people, knowing that there was at least one person that felt that I or we could make this a comfortable enough space for them to feel like they could exist fully in their capacity is the hugest win to me. So I love the kids. I love the diversity. I love the openness that this community creates for them. And I love just being able to build up on that.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I love this. This is
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
I love the space that you have built. I love the community that you've built. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story as part of the very first episode of this podcast. So be free. Thank you very much. If people want to learn more, they can go to gwmusiclab.com, find all the details. Especially
and that is also, I was going to say, that's also our handles as well. So we also have information regularly on our Instagram and Facebook at GW Music Lab.
All right. So especially if you are in Milwaukee or you know somebody who is in Milwaukee, let them know about the program. Be free. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.